We especially appreciate the time that you've made to participate in this orientation session. We're really excited about the programming that the Office of Global Learning has prepared for you today. We're excited about your participation, and we're excited about welcoming you to Cornell, whether you're transferring from another institution or arriving on campus for the first time. I'd like to introduce you to Brandon Lanners, who's the Office of Global Learning's Executive Director, who will tell us about today's agenda and guide us along the way. Brandon.
Well, thank you, Gustavo, for that introduction, and thanks to everyone for being here, both for all of our students and also all of our participants who we'll get to meet throughout the session. We have a great hour-and-a-half planned for you to get you some additional information beyond the videos that you were able to watch in advance, and we'll have some good opportunities to interact. And so, Dixing, if you want to put up today's agenda, thank you very much. We're going to spend a couple minutes talking about Cornell's core values, just to give everyone some kind of background context about, Cornell attitudes and ways that we hope that you engage over the next year or more. Next, we'll get into some additional immigration updates from our international services team here at the Office of Global Learning. And then we're going to move on to panel discussions split up between undergraduate and graduate and professional students so that you can hear answers to some important questions and ask some of your own questions. So I would like to now pass the mic back to Gustavo, who's going to talk more about Cornell's core values.
Thank you, Brandon. We have here up on this slide Cornell's core values, and this is something that often we just dive into the specifics of immigration considerations, and international students have kept asking us, well, it'd be great to hear a little bit about sort of big picture perspective of what Cornell is about, what I should expect when I arrive on campus, just the ethos of the university. And I think these core values reflect that to some extent. And in no way does this discussion do justice to what our meaningful conversation could be about these core values. And I think the same goes for anything that we covered today in such a short amount of time. But I just wanted to mention you, put it in front of everyone, make sure you all become familiar with, and then it's an open invitation to explore them, to get to see what they mean in practice at Cornell. And if you have any questions about any of them, do feel free to get in touch with us. The first one is purposeful discovery, right? We value the process of discovery through learning, through teaching, scholarship, innovation, always striving with integrity for excellence and purpose. The second value has to do with free and open inquiry and expression, right? We value free and open inquiry, expression. Of course, these are tenets that underlie academic freedom. And this goes also even for ideas that some may consider wrong, right? Or that they're incorrect, or perhaps not necessarily conducive to getting the right answer, getting truth, getting knowledge. And we'll talk a little bit more about this one in a second. The third value has to do with a community of belonging. Right? As probably all of you have already encountered the university motto, any person can find instruction. We at Cornell value diversity and inclusion. We strive to be welcoming, caring, and equitable as a community. The fourth value has to do with exploration across boundaries, right? We value the importance of all academic disciplines, and we celebrate the power of connections among them. The fifth value has to do with changing lives through public engagement, right? We value engagement in our community, our state, the broader world, the international community, learning about their needs and strengths, and applying the knowledge we create for the benefit of society. And then the sixth one is respect for the natural environment. We value our role in advancing solutions for a sustainable future, and we recognize the close relationship between people and the earth, and always try to act in ways to live and work sustainably. So this is a really big, bird's eye view of these values, and 3-second snippets of each of them. But there's one that perhaps I would like to get into for a second, and that's the second one, free and open inquiry and expression. You have here on the slide a little bit more of what that means, right? We're a community whose very purpose is a pursuit of knowledge. So we value free and open inquiry and expression. These tenets, again, that underlie academic freedom, right? And even of ideas that some may consider wrong or offensive. And inherent in this commitment is a corollary freedom to engage in reasoned opposition to messages to which one objects, right? Now, this is very complex, of course. It doesn't mean that anything goes, but it does mean that we should always strive for creating an environment in which people can express themselves, in which we shouldn't be beholden to any other interests that are foreign or exogenous to the academic enterprise and the pursuit of knowledge in excellence. Again, just a very, very general overview. This is one that we often get asked about. In particular, there are other contexts in the world in which academic pursuit of knowledge may be different, maybe more restricted, perhaps less open. And this is one that we just thought would be worth emphasizing for your time at Cornell. So with that, I'll turn it now over to our immigration team. Elizabeth Shedd and Hirsch Sisodia will tell you about important immigration considerations and updates.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you, Gustavo. Give me just a second here while I start the slide here. Let's see here. Can everybody see the screen? If I can just.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you again. I'm gonna just, Elizabeth Shedd and I will kind of tag team on this presentation. We'll give you some very important information that's gonna help you to understand what the immigration requirements are for your visa and how to maintain status. Again, I'm Hirsch Sisodia, Senior Immigration Advisor in the Office of Global Learning's Immigration Services team. I'm one of the 9 full-time members that are here to help you. And I'll have Elizabeth introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Shedd. I'm also a Senior Immigration Advisor at the Office of Global Learning. And we're available to answer your questions about immigration concerns, travel, work authorization, and anything that you think will impact your status or your academic program. So we'll have our contact information at the end of the slide. Please feel free to contact us if ever you have a question or a concern.
Thanks, Elizabeth. We're kind of, you may want to consider this as a home away from home. So if you have any concerns, please reach out to us as often as you need. And the earlier, the better. And hopefully, we can help you navigate not only the immigration stuff, sometimes it's campus related or personal things that we can also kind of help and be your support while we're here. So we'll get started with this presentation. So there are 3 broad topics we'll be covering. One is going to be maintaining your status. Second is employment, and the third is travel. Let's start with maintaining your status. What does that actually mean? In the broad sense, it means is doing what your visa category requires you to do in order for you to remain in the United States in legal status and continue with your programs here. So here are some of the topics that are going to be essential for you to pay attention to. So the first thing is going to be if you're new or initial students, that includes transfer students and change of level students who are going to be arriving at Cornell. You must go ahead and complete the online check-in process. This is very important because what it does is it allows us to know that you're actually arrived here in the United States, and then we can update your immigration record and push that on to make sure that your record, which is initial status, becomes active. So this is a very time-sensitive thing as well. So as soon as you arrive, you get settled in a day or 2, please go ahead and complete your check-in. The other part is staying enrolled full-time. So those of you who are undergrads, you must enroll at least 12 credits each semester. Normally speaking, that includes fall and spring semesters. Generally, if you enroll these 2 semesters, you don't have to enroll summer. If you choose to enroll summer, there's not necessarily a minimum credit requirement unless summer is going to be your first semester coming into the United States. For graduate students, full-time is determined by your department, so I would make sure that you connect with your department to make sure that you're being enrolled full-time each semester. Now, what does happen is if you sometimes have to be below full-time, please contact us and your academic department as soon as possible so we can figure out avenues to support you and help you maintain your status. Don't work without authorization. This is very important. Particularly, don't work without authorization off campus, because you must have authorization off campus in order to start working. And this does have a direct impact on your immigration status. And we're going to cover employment stuff a little bit later on. Follow policies and laws. It's important that you comply with Cornell's academic policies and conduct policies, as well as all federal and state laws, right? So this again goes to how are you maintaining status? Again, if you have any questions, definitely reach out to us. I would say, most people tend to reach out to their friends. That's nice, but I would say when it comes to legal stuff like this, you should reach out to us. Notify us of any change of address. So if you are going to be coming in, you're going to maybe in a temporary address right now. As soon as you change that, make sure you go online in Student Essentials and update that address. And that should be done within 10 days. Continuing on to maintaining status, keep your passport valid. That means that make sure if your passport is going to expire, you contact your embassy rather quickly, okay? Make sure you do it well ahead of time so you know the procedures for your particular country's requirements to renew the passport. Start this up real quick. Also make sure that you keep your passport safe. Keep it in a place that it's gonna be accessible and available to you. Apply early for an extension. Sometimes what happens is that you're starting your program, you don't know how long it's going to take for you to complete your program. As it's getting closer, maybe the last semester, it looks like, I'm not going to be able to complete my program in the time that I thought I would. Now I need to extend my immigration document. For those of you who are on F1, that's going to be your I-20. For J's, that's a DS 2019. So as soon as you find that out, make sure you contact our office to help you to extend that document. It's very important because until we extend that document, it's going to be a deadline, and then it becomes very difficult to extend the document. So plan ahead early. Notify us if you plan to transfer. So maybe you're going to be, you're going to graduate and you want to get a degree elsewhere. Make sure you contact us so we can transfer your immigration documents to that other institution. Or if you're going to be transferring, let's say from Cornell Ithaca to Cornell Tech, we still need to complete that transfer. So contact us and we can help you with that. And then complete all reporting requirements. Once you're on, for those of you who are on F1 and going to be planning on OPT, optional practical training after your degree is complete, make sure you complete all the reporting requirements. There's going to be, a lot of this information is on our website, so I do want you to take a look at our website at your leisure and refer to that as a guide as well. And then, of course, lastly, contact our office. We've got, like I said, 9 immigration officers who can help you with immigration. If you have any questions, doubts, don't feel that, a question is kind of silly or stupid. No. There's no such thing. It's important that it's your question and that it gets answered in a timely manner. So I'll start with employment and F&J status. So remember I was talking about not working on campus. Now part of this is working on campus is allowed. You don't need any special authorization to do that. So while you're registered, you can work on campus and it has to be for Cornell and paid by the university. There is a maximum number of hours of 20 that you must, you cannot exceed. So if you're enrolled in classes for spring semester, you'll be here, you find on-campus employment, that is going to be a maximum of 20 hours only. You cannot exceed that. If you're in summer and you're not registered, then you could work more than 20 hours on campus. But again, if you're registered for summer, then you're going to be capped to that 20 hours per week maximum. Like I said, F1 students require no special authorization. If you are a J1, then you will need an authorization from our office to work. So get in touch with us ahead of time. So F1 status for employment off campus. This is the one that I was telling you about, that you need to have authorization to work off campus. So for F1s, there are two types of practical authorizations. One is called Curricular Practical Training, or CPT, and the other one is Optional Practical Training, or OPT. For both of these, the government regulations state that the training must be directly in your field of study, and particularly your major field of study and not your minor. So make sure that if you are seeking internships, that maybe, later on, that you make sure that it is directly in your field of study, and also that take a look at our website and again, contact us on that. And now I'll hand this over to Elizabeth.
Thank you, Harsh. So working in the United States is going to be a very compelling and dynamic component to any kind of academic program that you're here to do. And obviously, after you graduate, you might have the interest in continuing your stay in the States to work in your major. So we have information here on this slide and on the next on the two kinds of work authorization, CPT and OPT. I'm going to encourage everyone, though, to focus on the links that will be at the bottom of the slides so that you really understand what you're getting into when you apply for work authorization. For both kinds of authorization, there are some obligations and some eligibility criteria, and we want you to understand those before you dive into a process. So when you go into interviews, or you find yourself on the job market and you speak to somebody from Cornell Career Services, you really have a solid understanding of what you're doing and what kind of parameters you have when you have authorization. So, so focus on the eligibility criteria first and your obligations, and then dive into a process. For CPT, you're going to be eligible for work authorization after you've been enrolled and present in the United States for 2 semesters in a row. CPT is, by definition, it's work that you need in order to graduate, or you need in order to earn credit for a course. So there's always some kind of curricular component to it. The hotel school students, for instance, they have a work requirement in order to graduate, and to intern at, say, a hotel in New York City, they would apply for CPT. Similarly, if we have any grad students here today, if you need to intern at another institution or at a private firm in order to find the structure for your dissertation or your thesis, you would also apply for CPT. It's an easy process to apply for. It's an electronic based application that just comes to one of the immigration advisors, and it's free, which is also a bonus as opposed to OPT. And it's relatively quick. So you can get your authorization done in 3 to 5 business days. And it functions just as an addition to the SEVIS record that you're already here on. So you're not changing your status to a different immigration category. It's a continuation of the same record that you're on. And so it's, it doesn't involve any kind of petition to the United States government. It's just adjudicated in our office. May I have the next slide, please? Ooh, Hirsch, can you switch the slide? Thank you. OPT is work authorization that most students would save until after they graduate. So it stands for Optional Practical Training. Again, you have to be enrolled and present in your program for 2 semesters in a row. It's possible to use this before graduation, but if you're eligible for CPT, I wouldn't use OPT unless CPT is an impossibility for you. Few reasons for that, and you're eligible for 12 months total of OPT, and if you use any time before graduation, that amount will be deducted from your 12-month total. Also, it's a fairly long application, especially this year. Applications have been taking a very long time, and there's a fee involved. We want to keep the OPT application saved until the end of your program. Work authorization applications go to USCIS, so we will assist you in putting together your application, but they are adjudicated by the federal government. And then students who apply for it would be eligible for work in their major fields for 12 months. And then everyone who is in a STEM field, science, technology, engineering, and math fields, would be eligible to apply for a second application for an additional 24 months. Some travel considerations, especially because I know a lot of our attendees today are still abroad. These are the documents that you'll need in order to come in, both to begin your program and if you're going to be traveling internationally while you're still enrolled. So valid passport, a valid entry visa stamp, except for Canadians who don't need a visa stamp, an I-20 showing F1 status. Also, if we have any Js, a DS 2019 showing J1 status. These documents have to be signed for travel by one of our representatives within the past year or Canadians within the past 6 months. And if your travel signature ever expires, you can make a quick reprint request that's on our website and we'll send you a new form. Some optional documents, if you'd like, are proof of financial support. This is just the financial support documents that duplicate the finances that are on your I-20 or your DS 2019. And proof of Cornell enrollment, such as your certificate of enrollment or your transcript, or for incoming students, just your letter of admission will suffice. There's also a letter that we have written that's under the Get Help section that you can print and have with you along with these other documents that shows that Cornell is open and functioning in a hybrid mode for the spring semester. Certainly not required to have that, but we understand that that might alleviate some worries as you come across the border, especially for the first time. So take a look at that. That's on our main page under the Get Help link, and you can download the PDF. And of course, we have some new guidelines from the federal immigration authorities related to COVID-19 and how they impact international students' responsibilities for maintaining status. All of them are here, but they can be quite lengthy, so I won't go through them point by point, but I would encourage everyone to visit our frequently asked questions section, which is on our website. If you're having trouble finding it, just send us a quick email and we'll send you the link. But we want you to understand what kind of obligations you have for maintaining your legality while you're here, especially in the spring for incoming students. And the most important thing that I could mention is for brand new students, so those who are brand new to the United States and haven't transferred their record from another school, just be sure that for the spring semester you are enrolled in at least one either completely in-person or hybridized class for the spring semester. And finally, here's how to contact us if you ever have any questions about our services. So we operate Monday through Friday, 11:30 to noon and 1 to 4:30. You can call us anytime. There's our phone number. Send us emails or schedule a Zoom appointment if you feel more comfortable talking to somebody face to face. And we have hour-long appointment slots where you can schedule an appointment, 10 minutes, 10-minute meeting with an advisor between 11 and 12 in the mornings and 3 and 4 in the afternoons. So we'd be happy to meet you by Zoom or however you feel comfortable. So please feel free to reach out.
Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth and Hirsch, for all of that helpful information. Now, everyone, we're going to have about 10-15 minutes if people from the audience have immigration-specific questions, Hirsch and Elizabeth will be able to answer those questions. Go ahead, and if you want to write those into the chat, or if you'd like to ask your question, you can just use Zoom to raise your hand. You can turn your video on or keep it off. We'll be able to take questions through both ways, and I'll just go through that list of questions. And we'll go one by one. So the first one. So on CPT, how many hours per week and how long in terms of months can we work for if you're doing a PhD? Can it be multiple CPT, like 2 internships in 2 years?
I'll take that one. Is that all right, Hirsch?
Sure.
Okay. So the answer depends on when you're going to be applying for your CPT. If you're going to be applying for work in between registered semesters, so let's say you want to work next year in between the spring and fall, and you want to work over the summer, first just be sure that you're not registered for any courses in the summer term, and then you can work as many hours as you would like. While students are enrolled, as Hirsch mentioned in his section, there's a 20-hour per week limit on any kind of work authorization that you have, and that's on campus and off campus limits. So if you're going to be applying for part-time CPT, that's in an internship that you want to do while you're registered, so you'd have a 20-hour limit. And while you're not registered, then a 40-hour or full-time. A broader answer to the question, though, is that if you are going to be doing more than one term of CPT, you should try to keep it to less than 11 months total. If you go over 12 months of full-time CPT over the course of your degree program, then you can't apply for OPT. And that's a rare circumstance. Usually it's just PhD students who are here for a very long time that question comes up, but it's just good to be aware of that limit.
Great, thanks for that, Elizabeth. So the next question, can international students apply for a gap semester or year?
Yes, it is possible to apply for a gap semester or year. You should be working with your academic department to start that conversation and then connect with us, and then we can figure out what that gap semester, that year is going to have an impact on your immigration status. Broadly speaking, generally, if you're not enrolled, then we have to close the immigration record, and students who are taking gap semester usually are going to be abroad. So then when they need to return, they need to go ahead and communicate back with their academic department for being able to come back and have that authorization and then connect with us so we can create your new immigration documents.
Great, thanks, Hirsch. So the next question, I am on an F1 visa and will be working as a TA this semester. Do I need to obtain a social security number?
Oh, fabulous question. And yes, so anybody who accepts money from a US source should get a social security number. And we have information on how to do that on our website. You will need a letter of support from our office in order to do so. But it's automated, so you don't have to come physically to get it, and we can mail it to you wherever you are. We also, this question dovetails into our tax support. We offer tax support services every tax season, and in order to file a tax return, you will need a social security number. So it's important once you get hired as a TA or an RA, or if you're going to be working with CPT, just apply for a social security number while you're still employed.
Great, thanks so much, Elizabeth. So the next question, and this person recognizes that we touched on this, but just quickly, how do I get a new travel signature on my I-20 if I need it? And as a Canadian, just to clarify, this signature must have been given within 6 months of my travel date. Is that right?
Yes, for Canadians, the border likes to have a signature every 6 months. So that is very true. And I thank you for noticing that. That's great. The other way to get your travel signature for now, since we are in the COVID emergency, is there's an online request. You can go to our website and request to have it sent to you. And when we'll receive that request, we'll process it and send it to you.
Great, thanks, Hirsch. So next question. I'm a student on the 2-year MBA program. I studied remotely in China last semester. Is it okay that I study in China this semester and arrive in Ithaca in September this year?
Yes, it is. So if you studied abroad for 2 semesters in a row, that's totally fine. You just first need to get that approved by your program coordinator. If you don't have that coordinator's name, you can email me and I'll send that person's name to you. We do have to work to defer your I-20 start date so that your record doesn't time out. So I'm guessing the vast majority of people here are on an F1 visa. They're coming in with an I-20, they'll be in F1 status. And you all have I-20 start dates. You have to check in within a certain time frame. And if you don't, then your record will time out. So that's why we've been sending lots of email correspondences about if you're going to be arriving late, what to do. Just follow the link in our latest email for the late arrival form. If you misplace the email, that's fine. It's also in the Get Help section of our website. So just make a request to defer your I-20 start date so your record doesn't time out and we can get a new form to you for your late arrival.
Thanks, Elizabeth. So next question. Would research credits for on-campus work suffice to maintain student status for the first semester, or is an in-person or hybrid course the only way to go about it?
Research credits you can take to maintain status, and Elizabeth can jump in on this. I think that would be okay, but I would say, you know, send us an email, because my thing is I would like to look at your immigration record just to see what's going on, and maybe we can have a Zoom appointment one-on-one, and then we can determine that if that for sure will work. But off the top of my head, I would say it should suffice for now. You can also email us at international@cornell.edu as well.
Yeah, the specific prohibition is on online classes. So something that is hybridized or research credits, and to address this person's concern, aren't online classes. So the federal government wants to know, could they find you? If they needed to know that you were here and active in your academic program, would they be able to find you? No, you can't do that for somebody who's 100% online. But research credits involve lab work and checking in with a PI, for instance. So those can count towards maintaining your legality for spring.
Great, thanks team. So the next one, where are we? Yeah, I took the fall semester from my home country, and I am taking the spring semester in person in Ithaca. Do I qualify to apply for an internship this summer?
Great question. Go ahead.
It depends. It depends on what program you're in, so email us.
Yeah, so go ahead, Gerald. That's international@cornell.edu. So let's say, I think this is the same question or similar. Yeah, if you have only been in the US for 1 semester, is there any way to apply for the CPT?
Yeah, I would say again, let's have a conversation on this. And you notice Elizabeth and I were trying to stick to a broader sense, because, you know, to give you individual answers for your case-specific situations, it's always a good idea to connect with us so we can take a look at your not only your immigration record, but also understand your situation in totality, so we can then address your questions that are going to be specifically catered to you, and not kind of give an answer that people may misconstrue and think, oh, that applies to me as well. So we got to be careful on that part.
And one thing that I'll say to everyone, because we have quite a few questions coming in, we'll make sure to copy all those questions, and then we can loop them around with the team, so people can be ready. But if we're not able to get to your question, please do send us an email at, again, international@cornell.edu. I see a lot of the questions do relate to CPT after one semester, and so let me scan through. Here's a somewhat different one. For students that are on a fellowship, can they get a Social Security number?
They can't. I'm sorry to say. So fellowships don't involve hourly work. And these are not our guidelines. They're the Social Security Administration guidelines. Ssn eligibility is based on hourly paid jobs. So something in the simplest sense, it's something where there's a time card or you log your hours, and fellowships don't offer that. So you're not eligible for an SSN as long as you're on fellowship.
Then maybe we'll take just one or two more. This one has to do in terms of the hybrid nature and the course requirement. So first-year students are encouraged to take at least one in-person or hybrid class. Is this the same for transfer students?
No, no, transfer students are counted as continuing students. So they're not required. Certainly you're not prohibited from taking something. If you see an interesting class and it's in person, you can definitely do it, but you're not required to. And those guidelines, again, are on our FAQs, but we understand that there's so many different ways to ask questions like this that the answers can seem ambiguous sometimes. So please follow up if the information there isn't clear.
And so maybe the final question that we'll be able to get to now, so we can make sure to leave enough time with our undergraduate and graduate professional panels. So can we renew or extend our visa in the US if the current pandemic situation persists? I'm currently in the US. I'm afraid it might be difficult to return to the States if I go back to my home country in the middle of the pandemic.
That's a great question. So I just want to clarify the visa. What we're talking about is the physical foil that's in your passport. And that can only be renewed. Well, technically, it's not a renewal, it's a reapplication. So you're applying for it again. It can only be done outside the United States, because that visa is a way of getting a clearance to be admitted into the United States. So the other thing I'll add on to that is that if you're here in the US, maintaining your status, continuing education, or will be going on to optional practical training, you can remain here legally even if your visa expires. Because what happens is when you enter the United States, you don't have a time-specific entry into the United States. What happens is they give you a status called D/S, duration of status. So you can remain here in the US as long as you're maintaining your status. But that's a good question.
Well, Elizabeth, Hirsch, thank you so much for being able to answer those questions. I know that we weren't able to get to all the audience questions. There was just a couple more that we didn't hit. So again, everyone, please do send us an email at international@cornell.edu. If you want to make sure that your question is answered, you can do that at any time. But now we're going to move over to our breakout rooms, where we're going to have our panelists. So again, we're going to have one breakout room for undergraduate students, and we'll have a moderator there, and our students will be able to introduce themselves. And we'll have another room for graduate and professional students. So you all should see that popping up just in a moment. We'll give people some time, about 20 minutes, and then we'll see you back. Everyone is back now. Great to see everyone. Really hope that that was helpful to have a chance to speak with our panelists. We are getting ready now to conclude our time together. So I just wanted to say a few more things, and then we'll let everybody go out into the snow, at least if you're here in Ithaca, maybe do some sledding. So just a couple of things. Number one, I really want to give thanks to our co-facilitators and our panelists for their time this morning. Your insight on immigration, on those core values from Cornell, and what life and learning is like here for undergraduate and graduate professional students. All key things for our orientation and for our new students to really understand. A couple of other pieces related to that, we had a few members from key student groups that my office, the Office of Global Learning, works with on a regular basis. So the International Students Union and also the Graduate Professional Student International. So I am going to see if I'm able to chat those links out to everyone, and hopefully that works. So you'll see ISU and you'll see GPSI. So please do check them out, and thanks so much to them for their support. Also, of course, there are many student groups at Cornell, many with particular international focus that might be based on a region or a specific country, or squirrel watching, right? There are many different ways to get involved. So do take advantage of all those student groups, especially ISU and GPSI. Also want to make sure that people are spending a lot of time on the Office of Global Learning International Services website. We have a bunch of immigration focused information, but also a lot of information that will kind of help you just make your life in Ithaca in the United States, either now or when you're able to get here. So I just put that link in the chat as well. Make sure to take some time to go through there. We had sent out in advance some pre-recorded material that we wanted people to watch, focused on health and safety. Do make sure that you spend time to watch those, or if you already did, go ahead and review. There we go, Dixing. Thank you very much for putting that link in there as well. One thing I wanted to alert everyone to, so our office gets most of our communications out to students through email. So of course, making sure to constantly be on your Cornell email. That's how you'll get information from us. My office also has a Facebook page that's focused on international student issues, primarily to promote events, whereas we're going to use email to contact you for anything urgent or critical regarding your, let's say, immigration situation, but also that's where we'll send important updates to larger international audiences. We've also started just recently sending out a regular newsletter that gives information on immigration updates and events. There's been a lot that's been happening in the United States just over the last year, and we suspect that that's going to continue, with the new presidential administration. So again, do please pay attention to your emails so we can get those to you. And then finally, just want to make sure that everyone's taking advantage of your orientation programming that you might have coming up over the next couple of days, whether that's for new student orientation or that's through your college or through your department. And do take advantage of Q Week. So there's a lot of other events that are happening, yoga classes and, student group meetings and all sorts of things. Do take advantage of that so you can stay connected. So with that, I will again thank everyone for your participation, and I really hope you all have a great rest of your day and week. Thank you so much, and welcome. Take care, everyone.